Hi, Mike Pelonzi here with another episode of Safe and Sound. Well, it's summertime. We're in the middle of a heat wave. Great time of year. As I always like to say, you don't have to shovel heat. And everyone's out and about, taking their summer trips, going to visit family and friends. And I'm going to talk about how to stay safe on the road while we're out in the world, seeing our friends and family around the country. So I'm just going to talk about some general safety tips on the road. Traveling with self-defense tools. I'm going to touch on some logistics and legalities on that, some situation awareness, and I'm going to end it with where we want to pick a place to sleep. So staying safe on the road. Obviously, we're all driving around, excited. And I always bring this up in another class that I do about checking your car for a few things. Tire pressure. It's not how to check your tire pressure in the driveway. And you always tell people, or ask them, hey, when's the last time you checked the tire pressure in your spare tire? And I get the blank look. I go, okay, when's the last time you saw your spare tire in the trunk? Or did you just cover it with stuff and never seen it? And then the last question, which everyone laughs, I go, honestly, raise your hands. Have you ever, since you bought your car, seen your spare tire? And it's amazing. They all laugh. No, not really. Yeah, it's a good idea. We should do this. Yes, you should at least check your spare tire. Make sure there's air in it. At least know where it is, how to get it out. Where the jacks are, lug nut wrench, and speaking of those two items, most cars come with, I'll put this politely, crappy jacks, a little lug nut wrench, and they do it not only, I'm sure, to save money, but also to save space. But if you've never changed the tire, it's always going to get a better jack. Now, I'm not talking a huge floor jack, those 4-ton jacks, absolutely not. I'm talking about just a regular little bottle jack, and it really looks like a bottle. Will jack up a car very well. And for your lug nuts, get a 4-star lug nut wrench. Two things. It gives you leverage and has a number of different sizes, so if you don't have to worry about buying the wrong size lug nut wrench for your car. And a lot of people go, I have a piece of pipe in my car for the leverage. I said, that's great, but a piece of pipe on a not well-made or sturdy lug nut wrench could cause injury to yourself. And the last thing you want when you're on the side of the road trying to jack up your car is to injure your hand, break a bone because you sort of jerry-rigged your lug nut wrench to a piece of pipe. That being said, when you buy your little bottle jack, I want you to actually go out and jack up your car. Two reasons. I want you to know ahead of time where you should jack up your car on the frame so you don't break any plastic piece or moldings. Also, depending on your vehicle, especially SUV, they're kind of high, and bottle jacks only go so high. So you may have to get a piece of wood or a little block to put in your car with the bottle jack. So last thing you want to be on the side of the road, trying to jack up your car, not having enough space or not having a big enough jack, and then running into the woods trying to find a piece of wood or a log. Never a fan of any of that, trying to jack up the car. Last thing I want to mention about that is if you're going to jack up your car, you need tire blocks. Again, you're not driving an 18-wheeler. You don't need those big, heavy tire blocks, but they make small tire blocks that will stop the car from rolling, because Murphy's Law says, hey, if we get a flat tire, we need to change it on the side of the road, it's going to be on a hill. Make sure you have signaling equipment, safety equipment, flares. They sell strobes. Don't get the high-intensity strobe. You don't want to blind people coming down the road, especially if it's at night. Reflective vest. Reflective vest is awesome. You know why? Because they are very bright. You want to get ANSI approved. That's what everyone on the highway departments use. And you can fold them up. Takes up little room, but when a car is coming over the hill around the corner, you're going to light up. Another thing you may want to think about is a small air compressor. And God, have those come down in size and price. I have one in my glove compartment. It looks like a little battery pack, but actually charges up in the USB port or a cigarette lighter. Well, I know no one has a cigarette lighter, but the cigarette port, and will inflate a tire. So a couple things to think about, because if you're out in the wilderness or if you're in mountains, sure, we all have some roadside service. Summertime, holiday season, 4th of July weekend's coming up. How many people are going to be working? How many people are going to be available at 9 p.m. 4th of July night to fix the tire? Nobody wants to sit there, 2, 3, 4 hours waiting for that to happen. So, plan ahead on that. Okay. Windshield wash fluid, summertime, I'm telling you, get some rain repellent windshield washer fluid. Works well. Wintertime, and I'll probably say this winter on a show, the de-icer windshield wash fluid. But if nothing else, get some basic windshield wash fluid. Bugs, dirt, back roads, you want to keep your windshield clean while you're driving around. So let's talk about planning the trip. Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone has a navigation app. I've actually been trying this. In the last 14 months that I've been talking to people about road safety and maps and how to read the maps, I can't tell you how many people I've come in contact with that have said, you know what, we've been up in the mountains, we've been in the west part of the country, and out in the desert where the GPS just shuts down. And it was just blank, nothing going on. So, don't be reliant on your GPS or your map apps. Pull out your course before you leave. And how you do that? Get a map book or get a map. Know where you're going before, know the alternate route before you go. And I'm going to give you a website. A lot of people don't even know about how you can check for road closures. But if the GPS goes out or the satellite goes out or for whatever reason you lose signal, you don't want to be blindly driving for hours. That gets in the compass and what side of the country you're on and whether you drive east to west. And that's really not what I'm going to talk about today. So you want to always have a plan B and have a plan B ready to go. Here's a trick. You can order or buy self-sticking lamination sheets, 8.5 by 11. You can put it right on your map, draw with a dry erase marker the route so you can see it. And that way you're not fumbling around. Because if you're lost for a couple hours, what road are we on? What route are you on? What mile marker? Who knows those things? Really difficult to figure that out in the stress. Especially, hey, it's at night, it's raining, you're not sure where you are, and you have a blank screen sitting there on the dashboard. Learn how to read a map. I've been asked, I've been contemplating it, if I would give a map reading class. The 20-something-year-olds who at one point were fascinated with my checkbook actually asked me if I taught map reading. They thought it was kind of cool. And they're not really thinking about the preparation of it. They just thought it was a cool thing to learn, something new, different, they've never done. None of them like us 20, 30 years ago were in the back of the car folding up those bulky maps, handing it to our fathers, and trying to figure out where we're going. All right, so let's get on to checking the route. How to check for road closures. Everyone goes, oh, I'll just do this on the app, this on the app. Let's forget about the app for now. There's a website. It covers all New England. It's called mass511.com. It's MASS and the number 511.com. Covers all New England. It's a great site. You can go on it before you leave. You can plug in your route. You can plug in the city. You can plug in the street. It will tell you road closures, construction, if there's an accident, all the things, something's going on ahead of time. We've all been on the highway when they're shutting down 2 lanes for paving or cleaning, whatever, how long that takes. Maybe it's not a bad idea to find out they're doing that and then find your alternate route. In finding that alternate route, what's another great thing to have checked off in your map book or your map? Who remembers these words? Dad, I have to go to the bathroom. Great. All right, well, we really don't want to pull over the side of the road, be running in the woods anymore these days. Distracted drivers make it really unsafe. So it's a good idea to know where the rest stops are in relation to where you are. Also on that, it's good to know where emergency facilities are. And I'm just not talking hospitals. Sometimes a hospital can be 10, 15, 20 miles away, whereas the closest police station or fire station could be a lot closer. So you always want to chart those out, make a little note where those are along your route. Nobody wants to think about having a medical emergency. I hope none of you do, but nothing's worse than trying to find an exit, trying to figure out where you're going, having to run in a gas station, calling for help, when really help would have been, instead of taking a right, you took a left, and there's a fire station, a mile down the road. I say this all the time. I do this a lot with the realtor class. Avoid high crime areas. Your GPS will not identify a high crime area. Most likely it takes you through the quickest routes, and some of those times those lead to bad areas. So, while we're on there, and we've already gone to the website mass51.com to see any road closures, we're going to go on, it's called crime mapping. Go on the web, on your computer, just type in crime mapping. It will give you a list. You can put it in by area, zip code, street. It will give you the crime stats that's going in that area. I always like to avoid those areas, even if you have to drive around along the way. Always keep yourself safe. Situation awareness is key, which I'll get into a little bit later on in this. So we're going to know where we're going. We're going to know how to get to when our cell phone's off. We're going to know what areas to go through, and we're also going to know if there's any road closures or detours we need to take, all prior to getting in the car. Much easier to be done at your kitchen table, your dining room table, wherever you are, your desk, your office, than pulling over the side of the road, cars whizzing by you trying to figure this out. Remember, always create a plan before you need it. Very difficult to create a plan when you need the plan, but it's always a great thing to have your plan in place if you happen to need it. So let's talk about some things I want you to bring in your car with you. Besides the basic, luggage, things, cash is key. This happened to me right in my hometown, Beverly. I was at a gas station, went to get gas, and there were signs on all the gas pumps, cash only, credit card machine down. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Took a couple 20s out, was going to fill the car up. I walked in. There were literally people yelling at this poor girl behind the counter, screaming, who has cash anymore? I don't understand why you can't take my credit card. And she tried to explain to them that it's not her. The system was down, but she was still able to process cash without having a credit card. So let's look at the situation. I had a group of people. They were upset, not violent, but upset. But you know what? Upset people can turn violent very quickly, which can turn to a mob, which can escalate into a bad situation. So that being said, I put $120 back in my pocket. I knew my car needed more than $20 worth of gas, but you know what? I gave the girl a $20 bill. Thank you very much. She pumped in put in the pump. I put $20 in, didn't fill it, got the gas, didn't have to go back in for any kind of change, and just left a situation that could have turned volatile. So those are some things you want to think about. Medical supplies, which, if you've seen any of my other shows, I've talked about creating your own med kit and having medical supplies. You always want to have medical supplies with you. On top of the medical supplies, I'm going to talk about self-defense tools. Just because you are trained and you are legal in one state doesn't mean you're legal in another state. Know the laws and know the liability of what you're taking into other states. A lot of people take firearms. Sure, they're licensed in Mass. They may not be. They're definitely not licensed in Connecticut. If you go south, you're not getting a license in Connecticut. Absolutely not. North and South, North, New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont do have certain reciprocity rules, but not a lot, so it's good to know that, especially if you're going on vacation. I'll tell you this right now. Maine state parks require a separate license in addition to the Massachusetts Class A license to carry. Also, Maine, you must declare a firearm upon a traffic stop, whereas New Hampshire and Vermont, you do not. But it is a law to inform the officer that you have a firearm on you. As far as other tools, one thing I'm a big advocate about is pepper spray. I can tell you pepper spray is legal in all 50 states. It's pepper. There are 3 places you cannot go with pepper spray in America: a courthouse, a federal building, and on an airplane. Do not take pepper spray to the airport. But other than that, you're good to go. You want to go to state park? Not a problem. You want to go to post office, bank, hotel, take a train ride, whatever you're doing on your trip. will not be an issue if you have pepper spray. So that's a great option other than a firearm or, Coubertons, which is its own defense tool in itself, but that takes a different level of training than just going out and buying it. Couberton classes usually about 3 days, and you're pretty black and blue after it's done. And again, you may not be able to legally use a Couberton or a firearm in other states. I can tell you, pepper spray, if you feel threatened and you deploy your pepper spray, as long as you don't beat the living hell out of that person and you call 911, you should be okay. Remember, always have an escape plan ready when you're driving. Be aware of other drivers. Always assume the other driver is going to make a mistake. They're on their cell phones. Assume everyone's distracted. I do this a lot, especially this time of year. All my buddies who drive motorcycles, I tell them, listen, leave enough room, pull off to the side, use your mirror. The worst thing in the world for all of us, but especially someone on a motorcycle, is waiting for the light to change. We're looking up here. We're not looking in the mirror on the side mirror, and someone behind us is doing this head down with the car still in motion. So be aware of what other people are doing. Always wave people on. People's psyche change a lot when they're driving. I don't know what happens. Their stress level goes up, their patience goes down. Maybe they're trying to get to a hospital to see a friend or family member. We don't know. But it seems that there's a lot of road rage going on, and I hear about it a lot where people are just like following each other, getting out of cars, starting fights with each other. I personally have seen a guy get out of a car in Beverly and rip someone's side view mirror off right in front of a supermarket. I don't know what happened. It was at a stoplight. Fortunately, I was in a position to get away, which I did. So it happens. So respect other drivers' space, yield. And here's a fun stat. If you let 100 cars get in front of you while you're driving on a highway, you delay your trip by 5 minutes. Why not delay your trip by 5 minutes and avoid any kind of conflict? Always be mentally engaged. Continually process what's going on around you. Just because you're paying attention, other people don't. Pay attention to the people next to you. See if they're swaying. When it's safe, don't speed up. I'm never a fan of speeding. I'm all a fan of hitting your brakes, slowing down, letting the person go ahead of us. Why? Because we can see that person. It's not that we're giving up the fight or giving up our road. It's that we can see what's going on, even if the person is behind us. So, as we're driving, all that's going on, kids in the car, paying attention, you're going to get tired. So, when you're tired, take a break, rest. Have some water in the car. Fatigue negatively affects the situation awareness always. If you're doing the head nod, switch off with someone. If you have another driver, if you're the only driver, then plan for rest stops along the way. Okay, I already talked about what could happen if you don't know the laws and your self-defense tools, whether it's criminal actions taken against you, civil actions taken against you. Nothing's worse than being on vacation and getting a subpoena from another state and having to take time off from work to go appear in court and hire a lawyer in another state because tempers got out of control. Well, it's not possible to prevent every scenario, and I get that. There's some items I want to go through. I call essential items and then safety comfort items. And these essential items, your basic toolkit. I'm not telling you to tune up your car. I get you're not going to have, well, most cars don't have spark plugs anymore. But a basic toolkit, couple screwdrivers, couple wrenches, adjustable wrench, tire repair kit is actually possible if you get a nail and you, for some reason, don't have a good spare tire. And those spare tires, we call them the donuts, the small ones are only good for 50 miles. It is possible to repair that and then inflate the tire. So how are you going to inflate the tire? You're going to have a tire inflator, which I talked about earlier. A jump starter, a jump pack. Back in the day, they were big, they were heavy, you had to charge them up. They make these little jump packs that you can attach to your USB port, your cigarette lighter, charge it up, it has enough for a couple of jumps. So if you're at a rest stop, and I'm going to talk about rest stop shortly, you come out, turn the key, click, click, click. Never a great thing. Remember, if that happens and you jump your battery, you want to, take a pause, find a service station, or someplace that sells batteries, because if your battery went dead, what that means is most likely there was a drain. Also, in that, know where your fuse box is. Spare fuses, a couple of the main spare fuses, because sometimes when you jump a car, it can pop a fuse. Duct tape. What man in the world doesn't love duct tape? Do we do everything with duct tape? We do. Zip ties, bungee cords, or rope. I already talked about reflective vest. A flashlight is key, or a headlamp. Headlamp may be a little easy to use, especially if at night and you're trying to change a tire or look at something, your hands are free. And they also make what's called emergency tire sealant, which will actually inflate the tires somewhat to get you off the road into the side of the road. Remember, anytime we repair a tire on the side of the road, that does not mean that we're going to continue on. It means we have to take care of the tire and then continue on. Very limited. The rule of thumb is anytime you repair your tire, at best, you get 50 miles on that fixed tire. Safety and comfort items, I already talked about flares, reflective triangles, rain gear. Rain gear is not a bad thing. It's raining out. Got to change the tire in the rain. Not an ideal situation, but depends on where you are. You may be forced to do it. A small fire extinguisher, always ABC fire extinguishers. And it's funny I'm saying this now. We had a heat wave. It was literally over 100 degrees the other day. But I always tell people, put at least one blanket per person and some extra warm clothing in the car, along with disposable feet and hand warmers. If you have an engine problem and your car dies and you're on the side of the road and it's cold outside, you have no heat, that vehicle is going to get cold really quick. You don't want to put yourself in that situation, especially if it's 2 or 3 hours away, help is 2 or 3 hours away. You're going to get cold, hypothermia can set in quickly. People say, well, should I get out of the car? Should I build a snow fort in the snow? We've all seen those. That's not what I'm talking about now. I'm talking about just staying in your car, keeping warm, having a way to keep people safe in the cold. In the summertime, you absolutely want to have water, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. Since we're in a heat wave, let's talk about water. How much water should we drink? Who knows? Well, a lot of people know. Doctors know, but where do I get my information from? A lot of these safety tips is from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Okay. In the kind of weather we're having now, 80, 90 degrees, it is recommended that you drink 8 ounces of water every 20 minutes. Here's the key. Drink even if you're not thirsty. You want to keep yourself hydrated before your body tells you you're thirsty, which is a lack of water in your body. So we are cutting down. There's a lot more to this. I guess we're going to have to do, or I'm going to do, a part 2 on this, keeping yourself safe while traveling. So I want to get into some situation awareness and how to keep yourself safe while you're traveling, as far as rest stops and convenience stores, gift markets, swap markets or swap meets. People go there a lot. And I think I am going to do part 2 next time. I think right now I'm just going to go right forward to the tip of the day. So, tip of the day for your car, ladies and gentlemen. You're driving, you have everything packed, you've done all your checks, life is good, whether you're driving a car with a trunk or whether you're driving an SUV where you have the back with the back hatch. I want you to keep a small pack of Kleenex and some Band-Aids in a Ziploc bag and put it in your glove compartment or center console. Nothing's worse than someone having a nosebleed, cutting themselves, needing a tissue for something, and needing to pull over because everything's in the back. So, a small packet Kleenex, a couple Band-Aids in a Ziploc bag. Why? Because you want to be able to find them quickly, especially if someone has a bloody nose. That way you can get them easily and deal what you have to deal with and continue on. It's easier and safer than having to pull over the side of the road, run around, trying to find something. I'm never a fan of getting out of the car on the side of the road. So, all right, well, that was a really fast half hour. So, I will see you next time with part 2 of this, and we'll go into the lodging and different things about rest stops and all, situation awareness and some things you can do and where you should stay and where you shouldn't stay. All right, I want to thank Chris Harvey, who's producing this, along with Michelle Lopez, and of course, my wife Lisa, who's filming the tip of the day, and she'll be putting that up online for you guys. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.